Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. After a hiatus, Col AJ Raina joins us. He lives along the border. He'll have some racy stories to tell us about what happened and also the new state of reality along the line of control. Let's welcome Col AJ Raina. Colonel Saab, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you?
Namaskar, Shirji. Firstly, my apologies for being late 5 minutes. This is something unusual. So kind of you getting me back on this platform. I was also missing it, to be honest. But the compulsion. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to set the stage for you, Colonel Raina. Two things happened. Let's first talk about the fact that Pakistan said that we are no longer going to abide by the Shimla agreement. Unpack that for us. Does that mean LOC is no longer a line of control, that it can be arbitrary? What is really the meaning of saying that we no longer abide by Shimla agreement? Over to you.
Yeah, I'll see the status. I'll see when it got converted from something called ceasefire line. Now, ceasefire line came into being in 1949, 1st January. And thereafter, after 71, we had this line of control in place of ceasefire line. While LC was never recognized, the sanctity of LC was never recognized as what we generally commonly understand by international border sanctity, that you don't breach it. Those things were happening. But when a foolish guy says that, okay, I don't, hereafter I don't give any weightage to Shimla agreement, so technically the LC doesn't exist. So technically, it is our area as per 1994 Constitution, Parliament resolution, and technically we can go wherever we want to go. So yeah, if Shimla agreement is not being accepted by other side, so LC, the question of having LC doesn't rise in the first place. Having said that, the ground reality is that almost 50 years of holding defenses and the line in whatever form, in an eyeball to eyeball scenario, it is more or less a given that this line separates Bharat from Pakistan held Jammu and Kashmir. And despite all that, you would have seen the videos, the kind of punishment which was given to them when this Op Sindoor started by our artillery firing in direct road, missiles firing in direct road. Actually, I was wondering, why don't we just walk over? Many people asked me, you destroyed a post, video mein dikh raha hai, so why don't you just walk over and take it over? So there are technical issues. It's not that we are scared. It's not that they'll come and we can't fight their counterattack. Taking a post which doesn't belong to you actually requires a lot of logistics and a lot of issues. And then that post which may be dominating us, once you reach there, you may see that you are getting dominated now. What happens in LC, what happens in certain places, they dominate, certain places we dominate. And many places we are at par. But now, when you see from this side that their post is okay, we are at par. Moment you cross over and sit in that post, firstly, the post is oriented towards us. It has nothing to protect its back. Now, back is the place from where they're going to come, the counterattack. So the technical reasons, this is to a larger people, my Twitter family, who they keep asking me, "Jab uda diya post, so why don't you walk in?" So that's the reason we don't walk in. It's not that we can't walk in or we shouldn't walk in. But the moot question, that LC doesn't exist. So it's all our territory. We have right to go where we want to go. Now it boils down to the willpower of our top leadership. Because I remember in Kargil also, when we started beating them back and we were throwing them back and they're running like rabbits, that time also orders were very clear that we will not cross line of control. This time, to best of my knowledge, no such order has been given. And as the things are moving up and as Operation Sindoor continues, you never know what state of LC will exist maybe by end of this year. This is difficult to predict, but we're going to a very interesting phase. And LC, yeah, Pakistan doesn't accept Shimla agreement, so there's no LC. That is the summary of all this.
Yeah, thank you, Colonel Raina. Two things that come to my mind. Number one, see, there have been more incursions in the Jammu region, the international border, and perhaps a little bit towards the LOC, because some part of Jammu is also LOC. And it was believed that some of those things, if India can take over, that would make incursions that much harder. Never mind the fact that India has now said, and Pakistan has agreed, that any act of terror will be construed as an act of war. ये पानी में लिख कर रखते हैं अपने side. These people write it in water and leave it on their side. For them, see, another thing in ceasefire is India should have demanded war reparations. How dare you attack Golden Temple? How dare you attack a civilian area in Jammu. How dare you go after Vaishno Devi, I'm told, as well as Delhi itself. These are civilian areas. And India has not said that you're going to pay for all this stuff, because India did spend a lot of money trying to bring. This is my personal opinion. So first thing is India trying to at least make it harder for incursion? Because don't give credence to the fact that an act of terror will become an act of war. These buggers are already inside India, isn't it?
Yeah, see, incursion, actually by incursion we mean somebody coming into your area, intruding into your area and capturing it and keeping it for himself. That has not happened. But what possibly you're trying to allude to is like place like Hajipir Pass. So we took
Yes.
it and we took back. Now this Hajipir Pass has been a pain in neck in the sense that it's a launch pad, and it is located at a place where people, once they cross over from there, they can either go down into Punch, Rajouri region of Jammu, or they can cross over and just roll down into valley. So it is one point which I mean, in army we keep asking ourselves, why did we give it back? Of course, it was not given back by army; it was given by political leadership at that time. So a lot of water has flown thereafter. So we leave it at that. But yes, if it comes to that, my point is that Hajipir Pass is situated on a very steep, high mountain. So instead of sending our officers and men like we did it in Kargil up that slope, and the guy sitting on top always will dominate, he'll have the edge. Why don't we just blast it off? We blast off the place and then our troops go and occupy. This is what I look forward to. If we were to take Hajipur today, I'm sure our army is not going to go and slog it out, lose 40, 50, 100 men, young, capable people. So the plan must be there. I'm not privy to those plans. What needs to be seen is like this policy of you declare do a terrorist act inside a country and we take it as act of war. What next? So if you ask me, like you asked me now, I would say go and blast Hajipir Pass and blast it with the air power. Don't use manpower. And once it is blasted, broken into pieces, then of course our men can move in. And there are many places like this that will improve our defensive posture. The best posture, as I look at the map of Jammu and Kashmir, is if we are able to reach Jhelum. Now, Jhelum, the listeners or viewers who know understand geography of the place, and those who don't, I'll just mention that from Srinagar to Uri, Jhelum flows from east to west via Vular Lake, Baramulla and Uri. Thereafter, it reaches Muzaffarabad. Short of Muzaffarabad is a place called Dumail. From there, it merges, the confluence happens with Kishan Ganga River, which is called Neelam by Pakistani Neelam River. And then the combined waters, they start flowing southwards. So that used to be the boundary between India, British Pakistan, British Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir before 1947. If we reach that boundary again, that is, if you take this part of POJK, then Islamabad is only 30 kilometers away. That's a big vulnerability they have. उसके बाद तो आपको बॉर्डर क्रॉस करने की जरूरत नहीं है. एयरफोर्स भी किस लिए जहाजों पे पैसे खर्चना है? You just fire artillery and they'll be sorted out. But there's a related problem there. The population which resides in the belt, which once belonged to Jammu and Kashmir and now part of POJK, the lower POJK, the Punch or Rajouri ke samne wala, that is a jihadi population. They have seen terrorists walking through them, coming into India. They have seen terrorists coming and staying there and doing training in their camps, which were in POJK. They have seen heads of our soldiers taken away by those idiots and put on display in places like Ravla Court and Bagh. So do we want really those 40 lakhs, 4 million people of that mentality, underdeveloped area? So do we really want that area to be taken back, merged into today's Jammu and Kashmir and part of India, Bharat, and then create problems for ourselves? So I think between these two solutions, the first, reach Jhelum and threaten Islamabad forever. And what you're saying, that improve your line of control posture as of now. Take the posts which are causing pain, which are launch pads for them, from where they dominate us. Take those posts and make LC actually irrelevant. Once you start dominating all across, now this is a very difficult thing to do. It's a very complex thing to do. Like I said, there are posts where we are down below, they are on top. Then next post we are dominating. So there are posts where one post of theirs dominates our post, and another post of ours dominates their post. So it's a very complex kind of a situation. So I think the call which our leadership has to take, that if we were to go to Jhelum and take whole of POJK, the lower portion, where like I said, it's underdeveloped, has no minerals, has no worthwhile local resources, but only jihadi population. So what do we do? Do we push all of them across Jhelum and send them to Pakistan, like the chief minister had said? If you were following this, just before Op Sindoor started, the prime minister or chief minister of, they call him prime minister of Azad Kashmir, he said, जब भारतीय फौज आएगी तो हम सब पाकिस्तान भाग जाएंगे. If that happens, well and good, do that. If that doesn't happen, now they're natives, they're not settlers, they belong to the place, they still have something like State Subject 370 kind of a thing in this part of POJK. So now outsiders are not allowed to stay there. So it is a native population. So while all of us may say कि POJK ले लेते हैं, but what do we do with the 4 million people, the hotheads? ऊपर जाते हैं, if you go to Gilgit-Baltistan, where once upon a time it was all Shia, now it is 50-50. Those 50% Sunnis are actually settlers. And Jammu and Kashmir, we have the records of all land records of complete Jammu and Kashmir state as it existed before 1947. So you can actually point out finger and say, okay, this guy came from outside, this guy came from outside. So some kind of thing can be done, but since we're not able to send our Bangladeshi Rongias back, I have my doubts on that issue also. But taking Gilgit-Baltistan actually gives us a lot of advantages. We get connected to Central Asian region through Wakhan corridor of Afghanistan. So air travel becomes easy. The airspace is ours. And in 5 to 10 years, probably we'll have tunnels and then pipes, because the second largest oil and gas reserve is in Central Asian region. And that's something which we need to tap. But then when you look at that part of POJK, then comes in China. China has built three dams. They have CPEC runs through that. So anything we do in Pakistan occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, it will be Bharat versus China. So people must understand that it's a very complex kind of a thing. We generally say, okay, line of control jari hai upar, but us line of control ke andar there are a lot of shades. So I don't know what is there in mind of top leadership, but my personal opinion is, yes, if Pakistan balkanizes tomorrow, which we must help it balkanize by supporting Balochs, by supporting TTP, and by recognizing Afghan government, giving them weaponry to defend their airspace and anti-tank weaponry officially given to Afghanistan. In that case, if Pakistan breaks, which it will, then POJK comes to us. Then we take a call. I don't want our soldiers to die taking that wasteland called their Azad Kashmir or fighting for Gilgit-Baltistan, because Gilgit-Baltistan fighting will again be very tough. It will be against the grain of the terrain. So it's a high altitude, that Nubra Valley and going into Turtuk. So this is how I look at the whole scenario. But I'm sure when you and me talk here, we have certain inputs, we have our own perception of things. People sitting in Delhi have their own and better inputs, better perception. So I trust the government. Let's see how it folds out. But if we play cleverly with Indus Water Treaty, which we are, because Chenab flows through our area, and I keep going to my village and I see one day it is flowing in full speed, and next day there's no water, it's down to a drain. So that means that we are doctoring or we are manipulating the water. You can't stop water. That's another thing which people say, pani roko, pani roko. Pani rok nahi sakte aap. We don't have that kind of wherewithal. But what we can do is, we can release it without telling them, and release it when they don't need it, and then stop the tap when they actually want it. So if we play it well, our Navy is still in Arabian Sea. They are not come back, as per the statement made by DG Naval Operations. If we keep floating around south of Karachi, that will increase insurance cost to any commercial ship which comes to Pakistan to deliver oil or whatever. So oil यहाँ से रुक जाए, पानी ऊपर से रुक जाए. पानी का रुकना also means there's no electricity being produced, because electricity in Pakistan, bulk of it is produced hydroelectricity. So that also gets shrunk. And then Balochs have the control over their LPG. The only source of petroleum gas in Pakistan lies in Balochistan. That's Dera Bukti and that Sui gas fields. Couple of weeks back, for 24 hours, Baloch BLA had actually taken over Dera Bukti, and they had cut out the supply. So a combination of these things, if it is done properly, which I'm sure will be done properly, I don't see Pakistan staying the way it is today, the map of Pakistan, going beyond end of this year, if we play it well. Otherwise also, so in that case, if POJK comes to us, most welcome. population क्या करना at that time, I think call will have to be taken. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Colonel Raina. Uh, one thing that keeps coming to my mind: China just walked into Gilgit-Baltistan. Pakistan sold Shaksgam Valley to China, something that it doesn't own. You take a coconut from a coconut vendor's store, go and break it in front of the Ganpati on the street. This is the Tamil saying. That's exactly what happened. It never belonged to them, the Shaksgam area. So when China incurs us, even in Gosthana, what is now called as Aksai, they just came in like a swarm. And India is sweating over 1 square kilometer area to occupy. Should we not? We are looking at Mahurat, we are looking at Tithi and all that stuff. My question is this something that is because of democracy, or is it something that India needs to have a back pocket plan? Mauke pe chauka marna hai. Do you think India has something like that?
Now, yes. 10 years back, no. And I tell you why. We did dilution of 370 and we abrogated 35A in 2019. And doing that, we actually separated Ladakh from rest of Jammu and Kashmir. And we were very happy. Pakistanis did it a similar thing in 1949, April 1949. They separated Gilgit-Baltistan from so-called Azad Kashmir, which we refer to as POJK. So they actually did it because the whole area was under that Strategize thing. So no Pakistani could have entered the POJK area and settled there. So what they did, they made a deal with Sardar Ibrahim, who was the first Prime Minister of Azad Kashmir from Poonch. Actually, he belonged to Poonch. He said, he was told, okay, you do one thing, you accept this, that Gilgit-Baltistan is not part of POJK or Azad Kashmir, and we will assimilate complete Azad Kashmir. Azad Kashmir means area opposite Rajouri Poonch into Pakistan. So you'll have voting rights, you'll have access to a Supreme Court, you'll have access to everything. So he agreed. For next 50 years, that's trade-off remained secret. It was buried in a secret file till the time a court asked for it. And in 91, the thing came into. So what I'm saying is, Shatru Bodh nahi tha. When Pakistan was doing this in April 49, didn't we know that he's kind of taking out, like you said, Shaksgam Valley came in 63. In 49 only, they did this first thing. Second was 63, what you refer to, when they gave it to China. So Shatru Bodh ki kami, and ऊपर से कि हम बुद्धा के देश के हैं, and we don't do this, we don't do that philosophy. Now you look at today, why government has made this announcement that any act of terrorism here will be taken as act of war, because now we are prepared. We took 2 weeks, all right, because you cannot have that kind of preparedness. You can't keep your troops prepared 24/7, 12 months a year, ready to strike at half an hour notice. It just can't happen. We are human beings. There's a fatigue which sets in. Even equipment gets fatigued. If you keep your radars open every time and 24/7, there's something called fatigue in the radar that also happens. So we prepared ourselves well. And why we said this? Now, if we've done our homework, we tested, like Naval DGMO said, Naval DG of Naval Operations, that we went to Arabian Sea and fired our missiles and we checked whether we are okay or not. So everything is now in order. Now we're looking for one opportunity from Pakistan to do a foolish thing, which he will. He's bound to do that. That is his destiny. That's how it will be destroyed. And we will strike not after 12 days. We will possibly strike in 6 to 7 hours. That's the time which we need. So if that is the case, for immediate striking, I'm sure that preparedness to do something bigger, what you were alluding to, has already been done. And if given an opportunity, no Muhurat, nothing will be taken care, considered. It will be like Muhurat ki baat karen, to all the astrologers were saying we should start punishing Pakistan after 14th of May, but it happened much before that, because everything actually doesn't follow what people feel should follow. So I think at least for immediate future, 6 to 7 months, anything happening during this period, you will find punishment very, very strong, very quick, and some results beyond what we saw during Op Sindoor phase 1. No, since it is not over, so Op Sindoor carries on. Much more than this we will be able to witness, and that is because what you asked, are we prepared? I would say yes, we are prepared psychologically and otherwise equipment and our military preparedness. So I hope 6-7 months this degree of alertness, this degree of preparation will remain. Thereafter you have to stand down. Let's be honest with ourselves. We shouldn't be telling our country cousins that okay, 2 साल के बाद भी नहीं, 2 साल के बाद होगा तो फिर again we will need some time to get into that gear. Like I said, there's a fatigue which sets not only in humans, it also sets in machines. So maybe 4 to 5, 6 months, this window, maybe before monsoons, ideally, something happens. So we'll witness something very, very drastic happening to Pakistan.
Thank you, Colonel Raina Saab. You are a powerhouse of information. A little birdie has been whispering in my ears using OSINT. It said that I have OSINT that there were some soldiers from Turkey that were lost in this skirmish. There were some soldiers from China also lost in this skirmish, because they are also saying the OSINT is open source intelligence. So just so you know what OSINT is. Open source intelligence is also saying that the 9 terrorist pads that were taken out, they were completely under surveillance by Chinese ISR. Explain to us what that means, because they couldn't stop that also. 25 minutes, pura dhwast ho gaya wahan par.
Yeah, this news of the Turks getting killed is confirmed because it happened just across our city in Sialkot.
You heard it first here, viewers.
Yeah, it had just happened because we saw it happening first. 2 nights, they sent about 150 drones into Jammu, and same time they were sending about 150 odd into Amritsar, Batala belt. So naturally, their base was somewhere in Sialkot. And when we, the second night, when we had 2 hits coming onto Jammu, 2 missiles was intercepted. I saw it firsthand because I was out that time in the city, and these missiles came and they were intercepted just on the outskirts of city. All of us heard it, a huge bang, and then whole night drones were flying on top of my roof. The drone flying. I actually went up to say hello to him because that was film wala, shadi wala drone. Well, out of the swarm which comes in, 90% of them are all these commercial drones. Only 10, maybe less than 10, carry some kind of either
Payload.
good sensors or good payload in terms of explosives. So when this was happening, it was being operated from Sialkot. The third night, the heavy punishment, and that day I was in line of control next to my farm, which is next to line of control. Shiriji, in our distant memory, we not seen a night like that. Such a heavy firing. That was when so-called ceasefire was announced. So-called. It wasn't a ceasefire, it was a stoppage of firing. That night, after that so-called 5 o'clock Trump deadline, it was hell to pay. Whole night. Artillery from both sides. In fact, Pakis had their artillery malfunctioning in Kupwada. They had brought big Chinese guns. They developed cracks because when you start firing intense rate for say half an hour, 1 hour, the barrel gets hot red. It becomes red actually. I am a gunner, so we've seen it. So then you need very high quality of metallurgy to sustain that. So those barrels cracked, but ours was unrelenting. In that, in Sialkot, 2 Turkish guys who were also training Pakis how to handle drones in future, they got knocked off. Chinese, there were reports that Chinese men were there. You would remember just before this thing started, about a week before that, couple of planes came into Pakistan from China, and it was believed that strengthening of the surveillance system has been done. In Jammu and Kashmir, the terrorists who've been killed of late, their communication system is beyond our interception, because it is not like typical thing that you open a radio set, so you speak to other guy and we listen in between. No, what they do, they have a control station inside POJK, the Chinese control center. That control center is connected to the satellite. So when I speak to other guy or pass a message, it first goes to China, the Chinese control tower or whatever it is in POJK, and gets relayed to the guy who may be standing next to me. So if I'm sending SMS to him, the SMS actually goes to that station across and then comes back here. And even GPS they were using, Chinese army commercial, not commercial, that military GPS. It could operate without satellite coverage. So those things were already there. Complete communication system across a long line of control has been refurbished and rebuilt by China over the last 5-6 years. Communication trenches, those bunkers, everything. China has invested heavily in LC, because China understands one thing. Like I said, if we breach LC, so Pakistan, in any case, is an irrelevant entity. Maybe in a year or two, or maybe end of this year, China will lose a lot. The CPEC goes for a 6, the dams go for 6, the powerhouses which they built along CPEC with a plan to take electricity back to their mainland, and Shaksgam, which is a reservoir of fresh water, the purest water available on earth, otherwise unpolluted, the ice melt, the whole thing will go for 6. So Chinese have invested heavily. So that tells us that how smart we've been, how smartly we used target aircraft, which are used for target practice. We flew them, Pakis shot at them, and they celebrated. Okay, हमने 5 Rafale गिरा दिए. Then Indian Army comes up with a picture showing, though, this is what was flying that day. So one thing I think calculation went wrong. One was they never expected that Punjab mein thokenge. They always thought that, as usual, Indian Army will come and either hit in POJK or maybe in part of KPK like Balakot. Because unless until hit Punjab, Pakistan feels that they've not been hit. So first calculation went wrong. Second was, when it happened, the strike on 9 places, like it was one army officer was today interviewed, he said 7 out of 9 were taken by ground forces. So missiles or whatever fired from ground, and 2 were from air. That night, it is believed Pakistan fired 300 air defense missiles. 300. So if 2 targets are being engaged by our aircraft, and that means there are 2 aircraft, maybe 1 standby each, backup 4, and combat air patrol. So 10 odd aircraft flying, and you have 300 missiles coming onto you. That showed the kind of panic they had in their mind. And secondly, another calculation went wrong because they thought India does it only once. Balakot also they came once, Uri also they came once, here also they come once. So let's sort them out the way we want to sort them out. And tomorrow it will be another happy day. And believe me, next day morning, after having got hit so badly in Bahawalpur, in Muridke and Muzaffarabad and elsewhere, they built a narrative in Pakistan saying we shot down 6 Rafales and badla le liya gaya hai. For 4 hours or 5 hours, this thing became a hot talk in Pakistan. People are celebrating. Then one guy got up, and then one more guy got up, and then a few more guys joined. They said, what the hell are you talking? They come inside, whether they come physically or through the missile, they've slapped us. Muridke is as good as Lahore, practically. You can't really make out if you watch from this 30 odd kilometers distance. They said they come so deep, they hit us where they wanted to hit us, and you're celebrating. That's the pressure which Pakistan Army felt. And then next day, they launched missiles in Jammu and Amritsar, Golden Temple and Vaishno Devi everywhere. And that's how it escalated. Otherwise, given an option, Pakistanis would have packed up next day. After losing those 9 civilian structures, they would have just flown few sorties, some exchange of fire, and that's what they were planning. But under their pressure, for the first time, because if you remember, before this happened, Pakistan Army was actually losing grip on the nation. People were actually questioning army. And they're saying that prestige and that honor that Pakistan Army once enjoyed was already eroded before. And one of the reasons why Asim Munir went for this option was because he wanted something like this to happen. And today you see, he's become a hero of Pakistan. His prime minister is saying, you are the fakhr, which actually means in Urdu, pride, and he salutes, and all that drama is happening. Some medals being given today. So the whole thing is that Chinese did their best. Turkey did their best. But hats off to our scientists, hats off to our soldiers, hats off to our pilots who actually were able to fool them and hit. And one thing which, Sheshji, we have a very learned audience here, so they must understand that, of course, losses have happened on our side, which DG Air Operations admitted. And when you go in a war, losses will happen. I mean, you can't expect you go and come back like, it's never happened. Like Houthis have sorted out Americans, you know it better what has happened in the last 2 weeks. 9 Raptors, I think, 2 F-18s, Houthis have taken from US. This happens. But why it happened, whatever loss happened, we must understand. Had we thought of going all out, which I feel that we should have, Air Force would have disabled their air defense in the first go. Whatever Chinese fancy radars were there, even American radar in Jacobabad, they would have been taken out in first salvo, whether BrahMos or Spike or Hammer, whatever. And then Air Force would have gone in full swing. What happened in this case? We tried to say, okay, we don't want to have a conflict with the military. We will only hit your civilian targets. And in that attempt to look very good, what we did, we incurred losses, because air defense, the battle of Air Force is very simple. You first suppress the air defense then you attack. Here what had happened, we actually went for attack first, where we attacked those 9 targets as you mentioned, and next day onwards when they started to escalate, then we suppressed their AD, and we saw what happened. Lahore was naked, Islamabad was naked, and that enabled 11 targets to be hit on the third day. So logically it should have been AD, then 11 targets, then 9, or 9 plus 9, 11, 20 all together. But वो थोड़ा सा goodness के चक्कर में हम लोगों ने whatever losses, luckily our pilots are safe, so one odd machine has, even if it's fallen doesn't matter, we are rich enough to buy more. This is a mindset which I have my own issues, that why are being, finally end of day what you would say, that we will not distinguish between terrorist and the government and the establishment. So this should have been our takeoff point, that this Pahalgam thing has happened, terrorists have done it because Pakistan government wanted it this way and Pakistan army did it this way, so we're going to hit the military target first. This subtle difference would have actually meant destruction of their air defense on day 1, followed by aerial bombing and bombardment by our pilots day 2, without their aircraft able to take off, and then Pakistan would have been history, Navy on day 3. This is how as a soldier would probably like to fight, but then जो हो गया वो सामने है. तो my request to people on top is कि बहुत हो गया ये गौतम बुद्ध and हम सिर्फ civilian target को मारेंगे. Somehow I don't subscribe to this area, because only civil target hitting entails your guys losing aircraft or life. Pilots are safe, we could have lost them. I mean, who knows? So this approach somehow I'm not comfortable with. Hopefully now onwards the government has declared that hereafter there will be no love lost, no distinction between civilian target and military target. Now I'm satisfied that if they follow this, so you will see absolute destruction happening in Pakistan with minimal losses to us. Losses will happen, but minimal, unavoidable. In this case, possibly our losses, whatever small losses we had first day, were avoidable.
Thank you so much, Colonel Raina. Last question for you, sir. This going of civilian locations, such as a sacred temple of Golden Temple, certainly that was intended to try and kindle the passions of our Sikh brothers and sisters, saying that, look, and there was a narrative that was being built. In fact, somebody from Khalistan, Canada, this scoundrel rascal, और भी बोल सकता हूं मैं, this guy is predicting 13 minutes before the actual attempt happened that Golden Temple is gone. So the fact that Pakistan has targeted civilian targets, India has copious proof, I'm afraid. So why is India not demanding war reparations?
One thing I'll tell you, Shiriji, you rightly summed it up. While we were preparing to strike into Pakistan, deep into Pakistan, they were preparing war of narratives. वो स्लाइडें सब बना के तैयार थे. So they had only thing to play around narrative. Possibly we are not asking for war damages because we know they can't pay, but yes, you should ask for. Why not? Pay क्या करेंगे? Only real estate worth mention is now known as Mariam Bunker on Twitter. So beyond that, they don't have anything to offer. We are not interested. But yes, had they succeeded, they would have been held to pay. I have no doubts in my mind. Because had a missile hit Harmandir Sahib, the already that current, especially thanks to the present government of Punjab, Indian Punjab, that would have kind of rolled into a that feeling would have gone to any level. And in Vaishno Devi, of course, they were trying to hit because Hindu or Muslims are different as per Mullah Munir. So
Mullah Munir, yes, M square.
Hindu, yeah, yeah. So Hindu temples had to be destroyed. So naturally, Vaishno Devi was. But then, like I was on a show, TV show. I said it was a combination of goodwill of our forces because we were fighting for a just cause. We are not doing jihad. Goodwill of our nation as such, our civilization, which doesn't believe in the saying that everything is fair in love and war. No, it's not Sanatan way of saying things. It's a part of the ideology which ceases to, which refuses to change. So it's a combination of goodwill of our nation, capability of our forces, and blessings from top that nothing happened in Amritsar or in Vaishno Devi. But yes, this also doesn't mean that they will not try again. That's why my point is that moment the next thing happens, within few hours, we should cripple them. Because even if it happens in say next phase, there are people in India sitting waiting for such things to happen and then take it up. Look at the attitude of our LOP asking for how many jets have you lost? Are you going to pay for those jets if you lost few jets? I mean, what kind of question? Has he disclosed what MOU he signed with China? Or has he disclosed why the only the only overseas office of Congress Party in Indian Ocean region is in Turkey? So you have such idiots sitting inside our country, waiting for what you said, the Khalistani sitting in Canada, the narrative. Imagine the damage it would have caused. I'm thankful to Ma Vaishno Devi, Vaheguru, Sabko, that everything is, because I think our intent was pure. Our efforts were fair and judicious, and that's why God's been kind. Baki damage manke, what we are going to get? Mariam Bunker, we are not interested. There's only asset left in Pakistan, untouched. Where the Mullah Munir was hiding for 3 years, three hours when we were hitting their airfields that day.
Thank you so much, Colonel Raina. We have a lot of questions from our viewers. Actually, you set the stage for our ongoing conversation with Sumit Peer, which is going to be 𝗝𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗦𝗙𝗧. So do come back and join us for that one. So we are going to have a lot of fun doing that one. Let's take a few questions now for you, Colonel Saab. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskar, why isn't the attempted attack on Golden Temple by Pakistan not being used by Bharat to drive a wedge between Pakistan and the SFJ and affiliates?
Ranga Saab, our narrative, the war of narrative we've been losing for years. It's not today. You just search, go on YouTube, and like people are saying, like I was watching a show in the morning while listening to the show when I was on the walk in the morning, that TikTok and everything is taken off in a big way against India. And okay, TikTok is not here in India, so okay, you go on YouTube and look for Blue Star. There are at least 5,000 videos telling people that how Indian Army went and destroyed Akal Takht, how good was Bhindranwala, and there's not a one video from our side which counters that. So we've been losing war of narratives. It's not, we do very well otherwise on field. So yes, your point is valid. Some effort has been made today. Like the channel I was here there before I came in this show. This point has been discussed, and our mainstream media also, I'm sorry to say, they pick up Islamabad capture ho gaya, ye ho gaya, instead of bringing out these important issues, which I agree with Ranga Saab. It should be done. It's being done, but very slowly, as usual.
Next one, please. Jayati Dasgupta wants to know, is it true that Bangladesh is planning to sell or release the Chittagong port to a foreign country? There are also reports of unrest or possible mutiny within the Bangladesh army.
Yeah, Bangladesh army, now US army is already there. Troops are there. And they are telling Bangladesh army, okay, let's open up a corridor to support Arakan army. Today, or I think last evening, they had a meeting. The army chief, the useless Yunus, and somebody, NSA. And there was no conclusion. And I believe there are a lot of heated exchange. So army is favoring this corridor. To that extent, possibly Chittagong port going to Americans. What foreign country is America? Is a possibility. And but there's a difference, because now Yunus is already sitting in the lap of Chinese. Americans did something to Sheikh Hasina, brought Yunus. Piche se Trump went off, Yunus went to China. Now look at Bangladesh today. You have Chinese presence near. They're planning to build an airfield next to Chicken Neck. You have US troops sitting there. You have Turkey NGOs doing the propaganda, map propaganda, the cartographic offensive as we call it, and you have jihadis. So Bangladesh, does it exist as a country? I have my own doubts, but this Chittagong port things, Shiri sir, will take us back to 71. East Pakistan that time, Pakistan was about to give port to Americans in 71. That's when Russians intervened, came to us and said, let's separate this part from, because Pakistan had become part of NATO and CENTO. NATO couldn't come down below. So they came to us in 1970. Mrs. Gandhi refused. And when things flared up in Bangladesh, so 71 we signed the treaty with, and that treaty made sure that when 7th Fleet came into Indian Ocean, you had Russian submarines countering them, and both were nuclear powered. So, a common sense will tell you that two nuclear powered countries in Cold War era wouldn't fight over a small piece of land called East Pakistan. They were fighting because Bay of Bengal domination happens from these ports. Anybody who's sitting here will dominate this trade corridor, sea route, shipping lines. So yeah, there's a possibility, and things are Shiriji today. Arakan Army. Then we have Sitwe project coming up. 5 years later, when India rises to a certain exchange level, then we will be treated like US is treating China today. So Americans are trying to have a foothold, another Israel to our east. They have foothold in Pakistan, and then that's how they want to counter us 5 to 10 years from today. So to that sense, yeah, it's a possibility. Confirmed to nahi hai. I can't confirm it whether it's being given, but there's a talk.
America has a short fuse. Colonel Raina, America has a short fuse. If things don't go its way, they usually just withdraw abruptly, which is what happened even in after they dislodged Sheikh Hasina and they brought Yunus. They thought that this guy will sit when they tell them to sit, and tell him to sit, and stand when he would tell him to stand, and he didn't do that. Then what happened? There was a change in government, there was a lull, and they told Modi, take care of Afghanistan, to take care of Bangladesh. We did nothing. And now they have come in and occupied, they meaning we now. See, I'm also, I'm on we on both sides. Like, now United States has taken over the US St. Martin Island, which is what they wanted in the first place. So even a refurbished, rejuvenated, redecorated Sheikh Hasina comes back, they're not going to move from there.
So maybe the other way out is, and the window is closing very fast. Maybe before monsoon, something happens, act of terror inside India linked to Bangladesh, which is a possibility because Bangladesh, a lot of stuff is happening in Bangladesh. Then we take it as act of war, and possibly if you go for Chittagong and we go for Chicken Neck, there's a situation where you will probably see Americans running away. What you would do?
Yes.
But windows closing very fast.
Next one, please. Vasu Iyengar wants to know, when will India ask the US to extradite Pannu and other Khalistanis?
वो अभी आपको लग नहीं रहा ट्रम्प साहब के बिहेवियर से nobody is going to ask anything. I think unknown gunmen will have to do this work, which they will.
Manoj Subramaniam, thank you so much for your super sticker. Thought provocateur, thank you so much. Can't we use area denial means on destroyed posts?
When you destroy the post, in any case, they can't just come walk in and occupy it again. Because once post is destroyed, the protection is gone. So there's a flag meeting held, white flag is raised, and then there we go. And this keeps happening. But yes, if intent is to change the alignment of line of control, which we started today's session with that kind of premise, then yes, it can be done.
Next one, please. Hans GEO wants to know, American military contractors arrive in Bangladesh, weapons are being delivered. What's happening? Well, we covered this thing. Let's go to the next question, please. Shankar VK wants to know, Colonel Saab, hats off to your sentiments valuing Indian lives over crossing the LOC. Thank you, Shankar ji. Next one, please. Prasann Joshi wants to know, an average Hindu, thank you so much. Pakistan is going to get 5th generation soon. Thoughts?
We are also doing something. The news will come out very soon. Yeah, J35, I believe, will be delivered. But then we are also getting something. Let's wait for the news.
Truth Seeker says, Sri, you are doing selfless service for India. Thank you so much, Truth Seeker. Payman86, thank you so much. Keep it up. Truth Seeker again, strategize Afghanistan as network of bases. Sadi, this is for you.
I've been saying, Shirji, for more than 6 months now, that let's recognize Taliban government. Let's supply them with air defense and anti-tank weaponaries and take Bagram base. In fact, we have a base in Tajikistan. So you have another base in Afghanistan. Pakistan is sorted out practically. How America will react, that we'll see later.
Next one, please. Devesh Kumar, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. E wants to know, thank you, E. DJT says, Namo to India, handle BD, looks like a ruse.
No, DJT is capable of telling China also tomorrow, handle India. उसका क्या भरोसा है? अभी जा तो रहा है, क्या तो रहा है, I'll go and do the tariff talk myself. So, but actions speak. People tell me that okay, he keeps firing from his hip, but you must action. What actions? He's shaken hands with STS. Our 15 shipments, mango shipments, $500,000 worth of commodity has been refused after it was loaded in Mumbai, after getting clearance from US Agriculture Department officer who's sitting in Mumbai for that purpose. So you radiate the whole thing, you pack it up, get the certificate, send those mangoes to America, and they say no, documents में problem है, not in the quality. So this is something which relates to governance. So मुझे तो ट्रम्प के actions को ज़्यादा अच्छे नहीं लग रहे. What he did that day, what he did in West Asia, and this mangoes coming back. $5 lakh is a good amount, Shirji. And that too after everything is in order as per us.
Yeah. Well, very, very sad if, this is not the way to do business. Sham Shano says, ask Colonel Raina ji, Namaskar, you think if Bharat doesn't agree to take IWT on the table, PAK will get frustrated and take foolish steps? Is that our chance?
That is one of the possibilities being discussed. He will try to attack one of our dams and then write his last letter.
Well, I think that brings us to a close of today's program. Thank you so much, Colonel Raina. You are such a wonderful trove of information. We are going to have a regular session with Colonel Raina. Of course, if he's traveling, we may not be able to do that. So Mondays at 7:30, not every Monday, but it's probably once every 2 Mondays or every 4 Mondays. I don't remember the exact thing that we both agreed to, Colonel Raina, but he will be a regular from here on. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Shirji. Thanks, everybody.